The next session is Spotlight on the Hospitality Scene. Joining Rhonda Walker on stage, please welcome Partner and Director of Operations at Four Man Ladder, Michael Gray, and the Chief Executive Officer of Backbone Hospitality, Ping Ho.
Definitely one of our favorite subjects, eating. You have both been certainly busy with your restaurant entities. So Ping, I think I'll start with you. Marrow. Anybody been to Marrow out there, out in the Indian Village area? Fabulous. And you have something coming up soon this year. Do you want to share?
I do. Well, it's actually been pushed back to next year at some point, but we're going to break ground this year. My business partners and I bought a building in Eastern Market, and we'll be expanding the Marrow meat business, focus on the good meat industry, and there'll be a processing facility on the first floor, as well as a bar and a restaurant on the second floor. So looking forward to bringing that to Detroit.
And congratulations. I know we all probably know, being in the business sector, that some things have gotten delayed lately. And also Royce here in downtown Detroit, the wine bar. Everybody been there? If you haven't, feel free to share a little bit more about what it is.
Yeah, so the Royce of all my businesses is probably squarely considered in the downtown area. It's on West Adams Avenue, in the Kales building. We've been there since 2016, and it's a wine bar and retail shop.
Excellent. And then Michael, Grey Ghost fans out there? And I just recently tried your newest restaurant called Basan, which is right across Sprout from Little Caesars Arena. You want to share a little bit about that one?
Sure. We were fortunate enough to partner and open up the spot on the ground floor of the Eddystone. Been repurposed for apartments. Beautiful building, and obviously proximity to LCA is a wonderful advantage.
Yes, it's right across the street, literally, and it's just a beautiful space. I was in there and I'm like, where are we? This is just lovely. You've created, both of you, such unique spaces, and I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the challenge that being an owner of a restaurant has been over the last few years, and the recovery continues.
Well, yeah, I think anytime, pandemic or otherwise, restaurant, the industry is just a challenge. We are fortunate to have great teammates, really talented culinary professionals, and I personally ride some coattails, but man, it's been an interesting couple of years. We've had to pivot a bunch of different times, like so many other businesses have, and just relying on our teammates to kind of like put some thought together and keep the ball moving forward.
Beautiful spaces, food is tremendous. As you look at your restaurant in this day and age and all the challenges that you have, what is the focus now? I mean, the basics are there, right? You want to have great food, you want to have great service, but it seems to be an experience.
I think you have to cater to that comprehensive element. You can't just have a beautiful building. You can't just have great chefs making great food. You have to have a wonderful beverage program. It's got to be very comprehensive. Accessibility, parking, just and atmosphere. Atmosphere is so much important.
Yeah, I think coming out of the worst of the pandemic, right? With 2020 was, for our industry, I think unprecedentedly challenging. Having to pivot. I mean, pivot truly was a word that we overused, but it was true. We went from shutting down service to at Marrow, and the Royce focusing only on retail, and then reopening slowly and then shutting back down Q1 of 2021. I mean, those experiences, I think, was character building in many ways. And for a relatively young business and a young team, I think that presented many challenges, but we overcame them. The fact that we're still here, I think my teams are stronger, smarter, and definitely more adaptable and braver, right? So for me, to answer your question, it's looking this year and forward. ahead, it's about sustainability. Can we maintain the lessons that we learn and the profitability that we, fortunately, I think 2021 was a good year for many businesses because people came back. People came back to dine, wine in Detroit, and I think we were smarter as well. Looking at what lessons were learned. I think an earlier panel, like what are the effects of COVID that we retain? I would say for the restaurant business is definitely running more lean, running more smartly. We went from trying to open as many days as possible to only opening Thursdays to Sundays for Marrow and my other restaurant, Mink, because we're not in locations that are, say, by the stadium like Grey Ghost. So we learned that running a little more lean with fewer days on a smaller team was better for us at the end of the day. Work-life balance was key.
Did you have that?
Well,
I look at restaurant owners, I'm like, it was just a grind the entire time. Like,
it was a grind, but again, going back to an earlier panel I sat through on, bringing the workforce back, right? Work-life balance was definitely something that people these days demand and is a post-COVID learning. So we went to a 4-day work week for my team at Marrow and at Mink, and I think the staff is happier. Yeah, so sustainability, going back to that overarching goal for me.
Both of your restaurants, and I cheated a little bit, Ping, before I met you, but I talked with Michael and he sang your praises about how that pivot worked over at Marrow and what you were able to do with your market and provide the meal kits and that kind of thing. But you were the first, Grey Ghost was the first one that I actually saw doing that, where it's like, it's Mother's Day, come and get your kit. You get your champagne, you get your, get a flower in the box, a cookie, and it was just like, I know you're being so creative, but there had to be some ideas and things that you may have never done during that time that you're now is really benefiting in ways that you would have never realized.
Well, I think that whole situation, we capitalized on maintaining the audience and just keeping people. We actually started sending out MailChimp mass mailers, which we'd never done before, just as a way to continue to communicate with our audience. And burger kits and things like that, you have people pulling down Watson Street. There's not a whole lot of reasons to go down Watson Street except to come hang out at our restaurant.
Oh, to get a Grey Ghost burger?
Grey Ghost
yeah,
burgers.
there's plenty
we
of
had
reasons.
cars lined up and
Yeah.
a lot of enthusiasm around that program.
Yeah, and I guess you're creating, a network, a community of supporters, those that love the restaurant. How do you create that and retain that? Because that's important to the success.
Well, hospitality to me, it's all about building that personal rapport. So we focus so much of our front of house efforts on personalizing service. So when you come in and make a reservation, we see your name, we find out your significant other's name, find out this might sound creepy, but it's not. But we're building out like what kind of water you drink, what's your preferred wine, your favorite dish, and we're building a profile so the next time you visit us, we're prepared. We're ready to ask the questions, we've got all the tools in our belt, and we're gonna capitalize and make sure that you have that wonderful guest experience that you expect when you walk through the door.
Well, I was surprised when I was talking with Michael, and I said, I just tried your restaurant, Basan, a week ago, and he's like, I know. I was like, I didn't see you there. It's like, I saw your name on the reservation sheet. And so, but that's important. You want to feel valued and noticed, and it goes a long way. If someone walks up and says, do you want that same glass of cab as you had the last time you were here?
That's right. Yeah, and I think we also agree on, in our industry, knowing your customer, hospitality, providing good service are very important things. And classes at Marrow, for example, and at the Royce are one way I think we differentiate ourselves too. So we engage our guests, our community by offering classes. If you are interested in wine, if you're interested in learning how to make a sausage, we provide options for you. So, it's not just about enjoying the food from on the other end, it's actually coming and learning a little bit more. So I think offering differentiated experiences and events catered at the Detroit community, that really is our focus, especially for this year and going forward. Yeah.
part of being a customer too at a restaurant is like you like seeing your same servers. You like seeing those familiar faces because that's part of the experience, right? How are each of you doing in terms of retaining those faces? And I know it changes in the restaurant industry. Sometimes that job is a pass-through, you know, to get to something else, but how's the retention?
I would say at Marrow and at Mink and Royce, we have very, very good retention. And I'm very proud of this fact, right, that our turnover is very low. I think it's a smaller team that is very much held together by camaraderie, by having worked together. But I focus a lot on culture building at my groups. And yeah, we spent the last year working with our coach to really, and you know, it starts with the management team and then the managers under, but a coach who has guided us on how to deal with conflict, how to build teamwork. And you know, it was an investment I made during the pandemic because we need, you know, extra culture, strong culture to get over these challenges. Mm-hmm. I think I'm seeing it pay off a lot. Investment in HR, I mean, that's part of the whole, you know, what I'm working on. Michael and I were talking about it backstage, is like, that's so important. And even in a small business environment, that is one of the _1 challenges or, you know, areas that we need to focus on and do well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and offering advancement opportunities. So at the Royce, for example, anyone who wants to take a class in wine, WSET or Guildsom, can have a education stipend with conditions, for example, like how long they can stay with, how long they have to stay with us and all that, meeting certain performance requirements. But yeah, offering you know, opportunities for growth, I think is definitely an important way to retain good people. And obviously benefits, you know, good paychecks, recurring, you know, compensation opportunities. Those are the basic things too.
Well said. Well said.
Same? Anything?
Well, yeah. I mean, we are very fortunate at Grey Ghost and Second Best specifically to have a little bit more of a sample size, so our teammates know that they're going to make some money, mm-hmm. and they're going to come into a really positive culture, and we're progressive, and we're going to work to create a healthy work environment, which is not always the case in our industry. It's a very challenging industry to work in. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, but you know, rarely can you make an apples to apples comparison restaurant to restaurant. Grass isn't always greener.
Yeah. I think, you know, I mean, we all love to eat and dine out, and there's some, you know, some hobby chefs out there, and your dreams sometimes it's like, gosh, I would love to own a restaurant, you know, or someone might be thinking about it right now, you know, as a pivot in their life, but it seems like a scary industry right now, seeing what happened with the pandemic. Can you share your story just briefly in terms of how you became a restaurateur, going on 3 restaurants? Wait,
right.
No, 4.
Yeah, it's actually my second career. So I moved from New York to Detroit in 2015, and the Royce was my first brick and mortar retail business, first foray into small business ownership in food and beverage. I was in the music business for 10 years or more, and decided I did not want to age into a corporate job that I had no real long-term interest in. And yeah, decided to take the plunge, move to Detroit. And it's almost like a bug, right? It's a passion. I've always loved food and wine. I grew up in Singapore. Food is my culture. And loved wine from, you know, traveling to Europe, et cetera, right? So it was, yeah, Detroit made it, in many ways, gave me the opportunity because it wasn't a big, you know, the barriers to competition weren't as high as a city like New York. And I managed to just learn the wine business, and then met the right people, had an idea and a business, you know, I had a business plan for Marrow. I had, in my, you know, vision, just to build a butcher shop and a restaurant, and I met the right chef, I met the right butcher, and they brought it to light. So that was just, yeah, that was kind of my beginning.
And you selected Detroit, why?
Partly personal reasons, but when I came to visit, my ex-business partner grew up in Michigan, so got to know Detroit then, and by visiting and just seeing, yeah, there was really something interesting, unique happening, and downtown was the place that we wanted to open the Royce, and that was it.
I don't want to leave you out. Do you want to share your story?
Well, it's not nearly as interesting, but I've always been involved in food and beverage. Paid my way through college, graduated with a broadcasting degree, and here I am selling food and beverage.
Right.
Just the way I planned it.
Your restaurants are doing fantastic. I guess I look back to before the pandemic, and it was this surge of a lot of cool new restaurants. Like, when did Grey Ghost open?
6 years ago,
okay.
So 2016.
Yeah, and then you were...
So Marrow opened in 2018, end of 2018.
Right, so you're barely getting into 2 years, not even, when all of this happens, and it felt like, oh my gosh, our restaurant industry is doomed. We were just getting this cool space. So as we look now, we're not technically past the pandemic, but we're certainly in a better position than we are now. Are we back on that trajectory? Because I'm seeing, you're opening new restaurants, both of you. Is that the trend now?
Well, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm out there. It's tough to say that we've completely turned the corner. I think consumers have an opportunity choosing among a bunch of different options.
Yeah.
And they make the choice about who's going to succeed ultimately. So it's our obligation to come out and produce a great product and just remain consistent. Train, hire, retain, create a great guest experience.
So challenges have been all around you. So I want to pose a question about challenges, but we've talked about them, but are there, for instance, your restaurants, you have one that's kind of right in Grand Circus Park with the Royce, and then Marrow is more of a neighborhood restaurant. Are there differences?
Absolutely. Yeah, we feel it acutely. Even though the drive from downtown to Marrow takes about 7 minutes, we get comments all the time about people not wanting to go. We're a destination at Marrow because we're not close to downtown. So
7 minutes, it's pretty close.
7 minutes, I do the drive all the time.
Right.
And so those are the challenges of more neighborhood restaurants that fall outside of the downtown area. But the speaker earlier, Richard Florida, I was excited when he said we should think about downtown as slowly expanding to include Cass, include Eastern Market. I was like, yes, right? I want downtown to include Eastern Market in definition, given my new project. But yeah, location is everything, and I think downtown Detroit has the benefit of a lot more density, sports traffic. So we're a little jealous at times at Marrow. And going back to challenges, though, I think it's really rising costs, inflation, labor costs. These are real considerations for us in this business. The bottom line is already tiny, and so that's what we're constantly battling, right? And construction costs are high, so anyone who wants to get into the restaurant business right now has to contend with, really that barrier to entry. How can you afford building out equipment that takes almost a year to order in some cases? Logistics problems, right? Labor, cost of labor, construction being really high. So many challenges.
We're running out of time, but close us out with the positive outlook for 2023.
Well, we're both opening businesses.
Yeah.
I just opened one. Ping's got one right around the corner. The food and beverage scene in Detroit, in my memory, has never been as strong and comprehensively high quality as it is right now.
Yeah.
It's only getting better.
All right, we love it. Thanks for doing what you do, and just keep on doing it, and much success to both of you.
Thank you.
Michael Gray and Ping Ho.